Hi, welcome to the CAFMA Connect. I'm your host, Fire Chief Scott Freitag, and with me today is, well, his shirt says training chief, but Eric Merrill's the new training chief, and we're just Accreditation Manager Chief?
Sure.
Does that work?
Sounds perfect.
All right, we'll come up with a title for you at some point. But
Thanks.
Dustin Parra, lucrative move
Yeah.
from training chief to Accreditation Manager. Mm-hmm. It came with zero pay increase.
Zero.
Loss of your office. Mm-hmm. And you went from a nice Ram pickup to an old Tahoe.
Yep.
Wow, well done.
Yeah, thanks.
Accreditation helps.
That's right. The testing process was rigorous to get it, but thankfully I tested number one. And got it.
The interviews were painful to sit through. There's so many,
Yes, sir.
so many people just clamoring.
Yep.
Does this, though, foreshadow for Chief Merrill? Here's Chief Parra.
Yes.
Perfect position to go into Accreditation Manager because of the things we think it would help you develop just professionally.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And then once we're accredited, how many years is that accreditation good for?
5.
5 years. That timeline seems pretty good for you to transition that to Chief Merrill if we're just following
Yeah,
the plan.
absolutely. He's already put his application in for it, so
Right.
I think he's absolutely going to be ready for the job.
Well, if you have it, then forward it to me and we can we'll stamp it.
Yep.
It'll be good. So when we talk about accreditation, there have been some questions internally about why is this important? And those are typically from newer folks that weren't here when CYFD was accredited before, and they didn't see all of the benefits to both the community and the organization from having that outside third party. So why don't we start with what is accreditation and why do you feel it's important for our organization and the community?
Sure. Let's start with some of the benefits. There's a long list of benefits, but we'll start with a few. Organizational focus.
Okay.
So it aligns all of our programs that we currently do and ensures that we're doing what we say we do.
Right.
That's the credibility part. So that process increases our credibility within the community, elected officials, fire service community, and we get the third-party evaluation. So they get to look inside of our organization to say, yes, you're doing the things you're doing. Good job, but you can do better.
Right.
We have response performance, and that's based on community risk. The framework for evaluating performance improvement is all based on community risk at this point.
Right.
We're very fortunate in the fact that CYFD, when most people don't know, we do a lot of things we do because of the accreditation process
Absolutely.
that happened then. And we've continued to do it. A lot of our numbers haven't changed since then, so we can look at them and say, man, we're doing great. We're hitting all these benchmarks. We're doing a fantastic job. But the point is not to always hit your benchmarks. The point is to strive to be better than your benchmarks.
Right.
So lowering our response numbers and things like that to where maybe we're not hitting that 90% is not a bad thing.
Right.
It's a good thing because we're trying to improve all of the programs that we have. So again, that's just a couple of the first benefits. The self-assessment manual, and that's evaluated by subject matter experts.
Right.
They come in, they're going to do a full week here, and that's a whole team of assessors. So they're going to look at every program. They're going to interview firefighters to battalion chiefs, to administration to see if we're doing what we say we're doing. And that's just going to help the strategic direction.
Right.
And follow our strategic plan. So,
well, and to your point, some of the things that we do today are carryovers from CYFD when they were accredited. So the policy committee, which is ongoing, where we're reviewing the policies and keeping those up to date.
Yep.
The SOG, the standards operating guidelines, same thing. That committee has remained in place. Since accreditation under CYFD, we've continued to monitor on a monthly basis and annually what are our response times, what do they look like.
Yeah.
Now, one of the changes from CYFD to today is our community.
Yes.
It has grown significantly. We both know that we took a hit on our ISO rating because we don't have enough deployable resources and personnel for the size of community that it is today. With master plan communities growing and popping up in areas further away from the center of the town. And those things are important for us to look at and understand because our data showed us. We knew up front, hey, we need to add, which is a challenge for fire districts with funding. Then we got the ISO rating, which reinforced for the community, hey, here's the data they showed us. They told us there was a problem. ISO saying that there's a challenge here that needs to be addressed. And then now when we do the accreditation, not only the internal administrative things, policy and SOG, but looking at the standards of cover. And we're going to be one of the first, if not the first, agencies to work in partnership or in tandem with a neighboring agency. So us and Prescott are working together on a regional standard of cover. Both of us know that we need more engines. We need additional stations. We need additional personnel. I think if you stack up our data with our ISO rating challenges, and then we get the standard of cover document together, we've got a pretty good case for, hey, somehow we need to figure out how to fund adding these additional resources.
Oh, absolutely. And you will definitely see it in the critical or the community risk assessment and the regional SOC. It's all going to come together. One being regional, but we're going to see all of our gaps. And we're going to get recommendations on what we should be doing versus what we can do. And the data is going to show that our total response force is low. We know that. We know that there's holes within the boundaries of us in Prescott, increasing response times, things like that. And with all the communities coming in and the new communities that are planned, by the time this is done, we're going to look at it and go, man, we need another one here and another one there. So the data is going to show everything. Hopefully by August we'll have all that completed, and we're going to see. It's going to show us, where we're short.
Well, I think for the community's benefit, because some of the community would say this growth is leading to X, but the reality is most of the developments that are going in today have been planned for years. For us, we know these developments are on the books, they're on the table. The challenge is we don't know when they're going to come in. When's the climate going to be right for the developer to create the development like Jasper or finish out Granville? Well, we're not going to deploy resources and expend those monies when the area is just dirt. We have to wait until that happens. The other challenge for us is, and I say this all the time, development does not pay for development when it comes to fire protection. So we have to figure out creative ways to fund that and talk to the community about it. One of the projects, and a shout out to the town of Prescott Valley for this, but one of the projects they're working on is adding or improving the water system in Prescott Valley. And that was something we were dinged on in our ISO rating. Not within our purview, but the town understands it. So they're already trying to address that in the older areas. And so that's going to help us with accreditation as well when they look at the water supply and the standard of cover. So shout out to the town of Prescott Valley for the work that they're doing on the water supply. What are some other things that you have to do? Because we made fun of you for being stuck in this position, but it's a huge lift. Somewhat outside of your comfort zone because it's all administrative.
It is a little daunting, and honestly, it's a learning process pretty much every time I show up at work. So, but there's so much support, one from the PFD side, but statewide, nationally. There is tons of support, networks out there. To me, it's just breaking down, the entirety of it, so into little categories. So basically there's 11 categories that we have to be, that we have program managers. You're one, and maybe you didn't know that, but you are.
I was unaware.
Yes, sir.
Wait, is that the one that Kathy can do?
That is the one Kathy can do.
Perfect. Kathy, you up for this?
Absolutely not.
Up for the challenge. I heard her say absolutely. I missed anything after that.
There's 11 category managers within CAFMA right now. And what we'll do is we'll break down, there's basically 250 performance indicators that have to be completed. And each one of those are at least page-long documents explaining that we're doing what we're doing, say we're doing in that program. And it's basically an appraisal of what we do. There's 94 core competencies that we have to be accredited. Thankfully, other than the new additional ones that they've added, Looking back at our old accreditation status from CYFD, we have continued to do those throughout the years. So
That's great.
that is a huge weight off our shoulders. It's amazing when you start to really dig in and talk to other people how they don't do strategic plans
Right.
or simple things, SOGs, policies, things. Just the annual run report that Michael does for us.
Right.
I mean, that amount of data that he has right now is amazing. Now it's just putting it where it needs to be, which the board approved our RFP to go out to bid to get a consultant that will do our CRA and our regional SOC. So really, Michael and myself and all the category managers are going to get together, and we're going to basically dump the data in a static
Right.
position, and then the consultants are going to take it and put it into a big package for us.
And that consultant is in partnership with the city of Prescott, so we're working together
Absolutely.
on that.
Yep.
And just hearing what you're talking about with the 200 different categories and the 94 this, I mean, this is not something where we're just paying a group to come in and check a box and give us a sticker for the engines to make people feel good.
No.
This is an in-depth, deep dive into our organization,
Yeah.
where we are today, where we need to be in the future, because accreditation is about continuous growth and improvement.
Right.
Am I correct in that?
You're 100%. I mean, it's in the title, right?
Right.
It's continuous improvement. And that's where it's exciting. Like at first, when I got the position, I was, like, oh, this is going to be hard.
Right.
And you're thinking of the amount of work that's put into it. But when you look at, like, we all say we want to leave the fire service a little better, than we found it. To me, this is a multi-year project, but I really, truly feel in my heart now, really diving into the whole accreditation process, that this is the right thing for us. It's the right thing from the community. And by completing this, we will, for generations, it will be a much better department and
Right.
a much better community, just based on our accreditation status.
Sure.
And we've proven that because of the stuff we've been continuing to do through CYFD and now into CAFMA.
Right. And, some may ask, well, if it's so great,
Yeah.
why did you stop it? Why did you drop the accreditation when you created CAFMA? Well, there were some logistics related to that. We couldn't reaccredit and create CAFMA at the same time. It was too much work. And as with anything, Dustin, you've gone to college. I've gone to college. And what we know about degrees is that they are important. You can take a lot of tools away from a collegiate career, but the diploma is only as good as the name on the bottom of it.
Yep.
Right? And accreditation is kind of the same way. You have organizations that could just check boxes,
Yep.
shadow some things in, and then squeak by. That's not the organization we wanted to be. So we put it on hold. We wanted to give it some time. And then about the time frame we set to go for accreditation again, COVID hit.
Yep.
And so we once again were delayed because of that one was out of our hands. So, but our intention is we don't want to be a check the box organization.
No.
That's not who we are. That's not how we're established. We're going to color that thing in, create another box and color that one in as well.
Yep.
And I think we've done that this year with the strategic plan. Now we've been doing strategic plans, right? So we're in line with what accreditation is looking for. This year, we embarked on a whole new journey of strategic planning, bringing in an outside consultant that really drove us to think differently, to look very carefully and plan how we move forward, and to get the input, which took a lot of time from everybody internally, look to people in our community, our elected officials. And I think once the board votes on the document next month, we have it all cleaned up. I think we're going to have a really good strategic plan document so that when we go into accreditation and the accreditation folks look at that strategic plan, they'll say, this is well done.
Yeah.
Right? This takes a lot of things into account.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can't agree more. And that's all. The strategic plan is one piece of accreditation that you must have.
Right.
And I really do feel like we did it right this time. We've been part of, many of them throughout the years.
Right.
Don't think they were bad. I just think this one was just more detailed when you talk about, external stakeholders and internal stakeholders. Right. I feel like, the voices from the floor were heard and externally through our community partners were heard.
Right.
And that's really important to me, and I think the organization for its growth.
Absolutely. Well, and I want to point out in the strategic plan, not many people have a section called wicked problems.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of comments that we received from internally and externally about fire district funding.
Yeah.
That's not something that we can create a measurable objective to accomplish, because that's bigger than just one organization.
Yeah.
That's working with state associations. And then the other one that we outline in there is attainable housing. Right? It's not something CAFMA is in a position to fix.
Sure.
We can be part of working with groups to look for solutions, but it's not a measurable objective. On the other hand, we felt like, look, this is very important to our folks. They've made that clear. We have to at least address it so they know that we're not ignoring their voices.
Yeah.
There's just a different way we have to approach that than the standard goals and objectives.
Yeah, and I think it's important that you put them down, and they are recognized, but unfortunately, we don't have the means to fix them at this point. I think with all the community partners, and like you said, where you're at on the state level, I think eventually there's got to be some solutions.
Right.
And I think you're working towards that. But again, that's not a short-term fix. That's a long-term fix. And
I have some ideas that's just other people in the state aren't necessarily on board with them, because we talk about development doesn't pay for development.
right.
Maybe it should.
Maybe, yeah.
And we're supported by developers, and we support developers.
Absolutely.
But where the rubber meets the road and we say, okay, well, we need a fire station to support these communities you're building.
Yeah.
We can get property, but the 10, 12, 14 million that it costs us to build a fire station today, we don't have those. So we have to get creative. And at some point, we're going to have to go out for general obligation bond to fulfill that. But understandably, taxpayers, including myself who live in the district, we're going to be looking at that saying, what is your plan? Can you support the plan that you have? And meaning, do you have the data and the information behind it to support the need? And I think that's part of why accreditation is so important.
Yeah.
Is to be able to go out to the community and say, here's everything.
Yeah.
And because we're, like I said, we're not a check the box organization, you and I feel the same way. It's vitally important that when I go talk to a community leader or a community member about what the organization needs, that I can answer their questions and share with them a true comprehensive plan. And quite honestly, that's how, for our internal members who weren't here when CYFD was accredited, that's why we have a training center today. It's why Station 58 exists. It's the accreditation and going through the process, not just the sticker, all the work that you're doing. With all the numbers you threw out, because I'm not good with numbers, all the numbers you threw out, that's why that's so vitally important to get that level of detail.
It is, and I mean, end of the day, we answer to the community, right? And we want to do best by them. And this is a document that truly holds us accountable to the community and our stakeholders of, yes, we're doing what we say we're doing, and we are continuing to get better every single day. When we are completed with this, when this document is completed, we can truly look at the public and say, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're getting. This is the plan in the future. The next year, 5-year plan, here it is. This is what we need to do, and this is what we're shooting for. And when you talk about bond stuff, it's going to be black and white. We are definitely going to need that funding to be able to accomplish the needs of the community.
Right. Well, quite honestly, Dustin, I couldn't have closed it out any better. I think that final statement really puts a fine point on why this is so vitally important as we move forward. Kathy, anything to add? Because I know you're looking for me to ask you additional questions.
Yes, just another reminder that we're hiring for a firefighter recruit and for a finance specialist. So go to our website at cazfire.gov.
And when do those close?
Finance closes February 1st and firefighter closes February 8th.
Excellent.
Yes.
So take your time if you're interested in a position as a firefighter, and clearly you would want to work at CAFMA.
Absolutely.
Or a finance specialist. Again, clearly, why wouldn't you want to work with us? We're a lot of fun. And you get to come on the podcast.
That's right.
You get to come on it's a bonus.
It's a bonus. You get to come on the podcast. I know Dustin was extremely excited.
Absolutely.
So, Kathy, thank you for that. Dustin, thank you for being on here and talking about accreditation. Thank you for taking on the amazing opportunity
Yes,
that we provided.
I'm excited.
Or we'll rephrase it, the amazing challenge that you took on, because
That's
that's
good.
what it is. But we appreciate you doing that. For all of you out there, stay safe over the next week.